Good evening. Welcome to the Big Story. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Shawn Yao.
Tonight's big stories: the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte is top of mind for House prosecutors, but it is not resonating as much with Filipino voters as per a recent survey.
And the Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Commission says the POGO ban has not deterred offshore gaming owners, some of whom have even expanded operations.
And Pag-IBIG Fund scores a payout of 55.65 billion pesos out of members' savings last year. Pag-IBIG Vice President Jack will be joining us later on to talk about the impact of this record dividend to the home financing agency.
Even as Senate President Chis Escudero stands his ground over the start of the impeachment trial, the House of Representatives even intensified their own operations.
The lower house has designated a secretariat for the impeachment and even released an explainer video for the public to understand why they are moving for the ouster of Vice President Sara Duterte.
But the prosecution panel members also admit that they are worried about the long delay in the trial, saying their evidence and witnesses might be compromised by then. Camille Samonte with tonight's big story.
Nakasalukuyang miyembro ng House sa 19...
When the nation awaits the first ever impeachment trial of a vice president, the House of Representatives has released a video detailing the alleged infractions of Sara Duterte. The clip also serves as a defense of more than 200 congressmen who made the historic move to impeach Duterte on February 5.
Nang manumpa siya bilang pangalawang pangulo ng ating bansa noong July 1, 2022, nangako siya sa bayan na pangangalagaan at ipaglalaban ang konstitusyon at ipapatupad ang mga itinakdang batas nito. Ngunit sa loob ng 3 taon niyang panunungkulan, paulit-ulit na nilabag ni VP Sara ang kanyang sinumpaan.
The 9-minute video also presents the articles of impeachment that the lower chamber invoked on Duterte, such as the VP threatening the President, First Lady, and the House Speaker during a midnight press conference back in November.
Culpable violation of the Constitution, betrayal of public trust, graft and corruption, other high crimes.
There's also the Office of the Vice President's questionable spending of confidential funds. From the House's end, it looks like they're ready to begin Duterte's trial, and soon, the lower chamber has designated 11 of its own to stand as prosecutors and has even organized an impeachment secretariat to help out the prosecution team.
Ito'y pagpapatunay na ang House ay handa na. Ito po'y magsisilbing mga kasama namin dito, lalong-lalo na sa mga research, sa mga legal research, mga...
Chua, as one of the handpicked prosecutors, is worried about the proposed impeachment timeline of Senate President Chis Escudero. Escudero has put the start of the trial proper by July 30. Chua finds too far off. He notes the 5-month wait could endanger the pieces of evidence they already have on hand, as well as the safety of witnesses.
Yung tampering of evidence, isa po yan. Pangalawa po, yung mga testigo po natin, siyempre yung anxiety ng mga testigo natin mas lalong tumitindi.
But Escudero is adamant the trial is not going to start until after the 20th Congress is sworn in. He blasted the House of Representatives once more for waiting until the last minute to push the complaint along.
Kung talagang yan ang concern nila, bakit sila naghintay ng 2 buwan bago nila ginalaw yung impeachment na inihain sa kanila noong Desyembre pa? Kung yan talaga ang kanilang concern, bakit nila final ng huling araw ng sesyon ng Senado? Ulitin ko, kung sila hindi nagmadali noon, wala sila sa lugar, wala silang legal at moral basis na madaliin kami ngayon. Ulitin ko rin, hindi namin to dinadelay, Congressman Chua, hindi lang namin minamadali.
Congressman Chua and other prosecution panel members have explained the delay away by pointing out that they are a much larger body than the Senate.
Hindi po ganun kadali na mag-agree ang lahat at mag-master ng 1/3 dahil mahigit 300 po yan, 306 kung hindi po ako nagkakamali. Unlike po kasi sa Senado, 24 lang po yan, madali po yung kumausap ng 24 senador.
It's really a leadership call. Nasa kanila na po yan. Nasa kanila yung bola.
For News 5, Camille Samonte, we are One News.
what do voters want? That is the big question on most candidates' minds these days. And a recent survey by the social weather stations has some answers. The top 5 issues that resonate with voters are food security, healthcare, job opportunities, equal access to education, and workers' rights. Now, those shouldn't come as any surprise, particularly the first, with some 81% of those surveyed saying we need candidates who can bring down the price of basic goods. Rounding up the top 10, voters said they want candidates who will advocate for reducing poverty and hunger, controlling prices, address climate change and disaster preparedness, as well as defending the West Philippine Sea and fighting illegal drugs. Now, in this survey conducted from February 15 to 19, the SWS provided 15 issues to choose from. The remaining issues based on the survey results are achieving energy security and renewable energy, fighting crimes against persons, eradicating corruption, and the enactment of a law against political dynasties. But perhaps surprisingly, way down the order of importance, at 15th, was a fair impeachment trial for Vice President Sara Duterte at the Senate. Now, for this, the SWS surveyed 1,800 registered voters nationwide, which are 300 in Metro Manila, 900 in Balance Luzon, 300 in the Visayas, and 300 in Mindanao.
The Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Commission, or PAOC, says some POGOs in the country are still operating in large-scale hubs despite the crackdown. At a raid at the ATI building in Parañaque, authorities apprehended 147 foreign nationals and over 300 Filipino workers. Meanwhile, the recent raid at One Wheels condominium near Asiana City in Pasay captured 401 foreign nationals. PAOC spokesperson Winston Casio said the number of foreign nationals that have been arrested suggests that these are no longer guerrilla-style operations and that they have spread out beyond Metro Manila.
Medyo nakakabahala. Hindi po pwedeng hindi masunod yung total ban na inimpose ng ating president. Nagkalat na po sila, ASEC, all over the country, to be honest, no? Dito naman sa Metro Manila, nagko-congregate lang po talaga sila dito sa South. That is, one, if they're congregating, if a good number of foreign nationals are congregating in one apartment, for example, one condominium unit or one small office space. Second is if they notice they're coming in and out of electronic gadgets, pwede silang mag-report sa PAOC mismo.
PAOC is also coordinating with the Bureau of Immigration to stop connecting flights for deported POGO workers to prevent fugitives from escaping deportation. The agency said they've received reports that some foreign nationals used connecting flights to flee and avoid returning to their home countries.
An exclusive Reuters story is also bringing back concerns over alleged Chinese spies. In its investigation, Reuters found that between 2022 and 2024, 4 Chinese nationals accused of espionage handed out gifts to Tarlac City and 2 police forces, Manila and Tarlac. Wang Yongyi, Wu Chunren, Cai Xiaohuang, and Chen Haitao were detained by Philippine officials last month for allegedly gathering data on Philippine naval forces near the South China Sea. They also apparently led the Philippine-China Association of Promotion of Peace and Friendship, a civic group founded in 2016. They had a website that advertised their affiliation to the Chinese Communist Party. Reuters followed the trail to an article on the social media account of another group connected to them, which said that they donated 500,000 pesos to Tarlac City on July 2022, then gifted 10 motorcycles to Manila Police and 10 patrol vehicles to Tarlac Police on September of 2022. The Philippine officials were seen happily receiving these gifts. Fast forward to January of 2025, Philippine authorities caught the Chinese nationals flying drones near naval bases. The NBI said photos of sensitive military data were found on their devices and they were charged with espionage. Beijing was quick to deny this accusation, calling it a smear tactic.
All right, let's bring in our first guest tonight. She's the founding chairman of the Movement for Restoration of Peace and Order, also a well-known advocate of the Filipino-Chinese community. Welcome back to the big story, Miss Teresita Ang See. Can you hear us okay?
Good evening, ladies.
Good evening. I don't know if you've had a chance to read the Reuters article alleging that there were Chinese spies who paid off the 2 units of the police here. But if not, could I just have you give us a follow-up on the alleged Chinese spy stories that we were talking about a few weeks ago? Has there been any update on the guy who was detained?
If you're talking about the arrest of Deng Yanqing, the first one,
Yeah.
who I have been helping, he's still the case is in court, so we cannot really talk about it. But we hope the government will see the merits of the petition for bail, because there's really no basis in the case that was filed against them. They were asked to sign waiver of investigation because the 3 of them, including the 2 drivers, said never in their imagination had they ever thought that such a case would be filed against them. They signed the waiver because they thought in 2 or 3 days they will be freed, and they were not spying, but really surveying the roads. So the case is now in court. Application for bail is there, and I think the court has told the family that they cannot talk about it. No, so we're not talking about the merits of the case. It's just that the case is ongoing.
Is he still detained, or was he able to post bail?
No, the petition for bail is still being heard.
Okay. Tessie, since what happened with Yanqing, we've heard a lot of other arrests of alleged Chinese spies. There was that group of 5, then there was this group of 2 just like a few days ago. All the accusations seem to follow the same pattern. What I mean is they're caught with these equipment, like more or less similar surveying equipment, messaging equipment, the IMSIs, just in different locations. Supposedly, all with sensitive data, photographs of our police headquarters, AFP headquarters, naval bases. What do you make of these series of arrests?
Well, I'm sorry, I'm not privy on the merits of the other cases, because it's only with this Deng Yanqing case that I talked with his family, I talked with his wife, I talked with his son. And even the company has already issued a statement that these people were hired just to survey the roads for self-driving cars. So I do not know what the other cases are, but on this, I did my due diligence. I have to protect myself because I don't just come out and defend people like him that I don't really know. But at least in his case, I was able to backtrack and check the equipments. We had an engineer, we had a communications engineer who we consulted, and he gave us a briefing on what those equipments are. And he did tell us that you can always interpret it in many ways. I mean, you can always say that these things can be used for espionage. But the driver, for example, are telling us that they never went into any of the establishments, any of the infrastructures, since they're surveying roads. So they always pass by a lot of establishments, and that would include the headquarters, the police station, the malls. So it is natural because they have to pass by all of those roads to reach a certain point. And that's why we said that the evidence against them is that strong and bail should be provided. But for the other cases, I really don't know because I'm not privy to the cases that followed after Deng Yanqing.
Okay. Tessie, are you also, I'm sure you're familiar with the case of the schoolboy who was kidnapped from a private school in Taguig. Interior Secretary John Vic Remulla has said that the family was involved somehow in POGO operations. Unfortunately, the driver was apparently murdered, but the boy lost his part of his pinky finger, but he's since been reunited with his family. But what do you know about that case, and what did you make of the connection to the POGOs?
The connection to the BOGO is only in as much as the driver used to work in the POGO concerns in big POGO companies in Clark. And because he receives very high salary there and suddenly lost his job and started working as a family driver, he was easily enticed to be the tipster, and he tipped off the family, which ended up the boy being kidnapped and the driver being killed.
Tessie, I also caught your interview, I think, with Carmina Constantino, I think a day or two ago, exactly about this boy who was kidnapped. And I couldn't help but think back to the 90s, nung super uso yung kidnapping among the Chinoy community. And, things have, reporting at least, has not been the same with the advent of social media and, mga Viber, chats, group chats. Seems like a lot of information was going around the group chats, which kind of prompted the government to address these concerns on a public level, in Malacanang no less. Just your thoughts on, since you've always been, the point person every time there's kidnapping issues here in the country, how do you process, the differences, and what would be, because I'm also concerned, like the reporting, we see the boys' faces going around message boards, and it felt kind of unfair. He is only a child.
Yes, it's good that most of the reporting in mainstream media came out only after he was rescued. And most of the mainstream media heeded our request. They said they understand, they heeded our request not to release any information. By Sunday and Monday, I was already being hounded by media for information about the kidnapping. But I told them, as far since the 90s, that our SOP is not to release any information, have a news blackout when there is a live case. And most of them heeded our request. It's only the tabloids and the social media which started releasing all those information. And what's really sad is that the photos, the information, the fake news, the misleading facts all came from Chinese sources. Because I asked a lot of people and who sent me those footages, and all of them said this came from Chinese. They did not come from Filipinos. So it's very obvious that it's the Chinese who are releasing this kind of information. So we wanted to caution them to be more circumspect in the future, because you are victimizing victims all over again. I mean, it's bad enough that the boy was kidnapped and then releasing false news, releasing false information, and then later on the video, even of the cutting of the finger, was released. So, I mean, imagine how a mother would feel, no? She was already near breaking point when the kidnapping took place.
Yeah.
And then when she saw all of these news coming out, and then videos and then photos, so she felt so devastated. It's good that the rescue came the night after that. Those videos came out. So we also thank the media who cooperated, because it's not worth a life. I mean, you endanger the life, you victimize them all over again, you endanger the life of the victim, and you play into the hands of the kidnappers, because for all you know, that is what they want, to sow fear so that their potential victims in the future will pay off fast.
Tessie, when you say it came from the Chinese community, do you mean like a mainland Chinese community, or do you mean the Filipino Chinese community, like the Chinoys?
The Chinese Filipino community did not get. I asked very carefully. Now, the Chinese Filipino community had no access to those photos at the beginning. They also got it from forwarded photos. But sadly, some of them also forwarded it, no? But the source, the start of the source were from Chinese immigrants. So that's why in my discussion, in my meeting with AKG and the family and the Chinese embassy, there is of course, it's not 100% sure, but there is speculation that all the photos came from the kidnapper himself, from the mastermind himself.
Well, Tessie, would you know if there's already a clear motive behind the kidnapping? And do you think it's possible that these syndicates are already ramping up their illegal activities because of the ongoing ban and the deportation of these illegal immigrants, meaning they're starting to collect their debt, they're resorting to kidnapping? I mean, will there be an increase as well of all those illegal activities?
Well, I don't think they're wrapping up their operations. Many of them, I'm sure, went underground, and it's not just this POGO work or these POGO financiers and the POGO bosses. How about the workers that they hired, the Filipino drivers, for example, the Filipino bodyguards? They all lost their jobs. So what you expect? For example, this family, they pay 1/3 of the salary that they pay the driver is just 1/3 of what he used to receive. So they all felt deprived of their high lifestyle in the past. So we foresee a lot of these things happening and maybe kidnapping escalating. That's why the government cannot just let go of this case without solving it, without catching the perpetrators.
You said you met with AKG, the anti-kidnapping group. Help us understand why they weren't able to capture the perpetrators, the suspects, because Interior Secretary Remulla already said that this syndicate is known to them. So my question is, if it's been known to you for a while, then why is it so difficult to catch them?
No, it's not that the syndicate, the head of the syndicate, Wang Tanyu, was formerly already, there's already a warrant for his arrest. It was only after the boy was kidnapped that they were relating this kidnapping to him. So is he the mastermind? That remains to be seen, but he still needed to be caught, as you said. He is known, people know that he's notorious. He's not just a carnapper and a kidnapper. He has liquidated, he has killed many POGO people, POGO-connected people, POGO-connected crimes. He's used to killing people, period. So he must be caught, whether he's connected to the boy's kidnapping or not. There still has to be a manhunt for him. No? That's why I think before they create even more problems, pinpointing that these spies, focusing their attention on alleged spies and suspicious of people who are just doing their jobs, they should focus their attention on criminal syndicates. I doubt. No, I'm not privy to the other cases, but I find it a bit too much speculative that China will use such spies in our midst. In a country like ours, where Marites is a national pastime, you don't need to get spies. The SILG revealed all the information about their efforts. He even revealed where the mastermind is, where they are closing in on him, what information they have. They even released the information on where the boy and the family is after the kidnapping. I mean, in our country where nothing is secret, you don't need to hire spies. And if China wanted to spy on us, they don't They will not hire spies like these people who are high profile, who are caught. Because I just caught the tail end of your report a while ago that they belong to associations, they are high profile. So would China use this kind of people as spies? I don't know, maybe. But then why don't you focus your attention first in catching criminals?
Right, right. But coming back to my point, it's even more worrisome that they know all of these about the perpetrators that kidnapped the schoolboy, but and yet they were still able to get away. The suspects were able to get away.
It's really weird.
And in fact, they didn't technically recover the boy because the boy was left abandoned on the side of the road in Pasay City.
Because
So-
what they said was we prioritized rescuing the boy, and a lot of people had issues about the word rescue because technically, I mean, yes, they got him, but it wasn't technically a rescue. They found him on the sidewalk, walking in pajamas, right? By now, everyone knows.
And I guess the question there is, how confident are you? How confident should we be that AKG will be able to capture this so-called mastermind?
I think you should address that question to them. No, we hope that they will really work double time so that they can restore the confidence of the victims. Because we have been calling other victims and potential victims that you have no choice but to report the case to the AKG. Because unless you do so, I mean, you will end up sometimes paying ransom, which is not a guarantee that the victim will be released. So what will you do if you pay ransom and the victim is not released? So you have nothing to fall back on except to report the case.
Sorry, I was just wondering if, because supposedly, according to the numbers, there's been 8 kidnapping cases this year so far. This one, of course, we know was resolved. They said another 2 were resolved. Are you still involved with the, trying to solve these kidnapping issues with your group, of course, with your movement? And how has it been? I don't want to say like the kidnapping industry, but it would seem, at least anecdotally and from what we know, it would seem it's so much different from the 1990s. But now we're hearing about it again, and a lot of parents are understandably very, very scared for their children.
Well, so far, we help only the Chinese Filipinos because sadly, unfortunately, the Chinese victims, especially if they're POGO or gambling or casino related, they don't cooperate, no? Just like in the 90s, they don't cooperate and they pay the ransom fast. Some of them, it's because they really owe money to these casinos. They are held hostage because they owe money. But when victims are Chinese Filipinos and they really, by word of mouth, they get to us, our organization, we do help them and we pursue the cases. We just heard that the one 2 years ago who was kidnapped and his big toe was cut off immediately during the negotiation, just like this boy, and he was killed. We just found out that China was able to arrest the mastermind in that case. So we hope that in this case there will also be a breakthrough.
Okay.
Well, in the meantime, Tessie, what do you think families can do to protect themselves, considering that so if they get bodyguards, or if they get drivers, I mean, just because of, in this case, you saw the driver being in cahoots with the syndicate, and we also learned that some of the people they were working with was ex-army officials or ex-police officials. So, I mean, that raises a lot of questions on how people can protect themselves amid all this.
Yes, we always advise people that the first rule in safety and security is to make sure that the people around you, the house help, the bodyguards, the security guards, the drivers, are fully vetted. Of course, we have had cases where drivers have been working with the family for 25 years. The drivers' kids were educated through the efforts of the employers, but they still tip off the kidnappers, no? But it's rare. But in this case, for example, of the boy Andy One, well, the driver was working with them for only 1 month, so he was recommended by another driver. So we caution people to be more careful in hiring people who will work very closely with you. Aside from that, of course, is to avoid extravagant lifestyle, to be more low profile, and of course, to always be very vigilant, especially during these times.
Okay, we will leave that there for now. Thank you so much for your insights. That was Teresita Ang See, founding chairman of the Movement for Restoration of Peace and Order.
Now, speaking of tensions with China, its National Defense Ministry has hit back at the Philippines once again, accusing Manila of quote-unquote fabricating false narratives.
The truth of the matter is very clear. The Philippine business jet carrying a large media entourage blatantly intruded into China's territorial airspace over Wangyandao, provocatively stirring up trouble and posing a threat to our normal patrolling naval helicopters. This is the root cause of the maritime and air security risks between the two sides. It must be pointed out that it is utmost reckless and fundamentally irresponsible to violate international law and intrude into other countries' airspace. We ask the Philippine side to immediately stop its infringement and fabrication of false narratives and work with China to jointly maintain peace and stability in the South China Sea.
This is the continuing fallout from an encounter that took place a week ago over the Scarborough Shoal, which the Chinese call Wangyandao. A Chinese helicopter came as close as 3 meters to a B-4 aircraft that was conducting routine patrol and also tailed it. This was the closest a Chinese chopper had come to a Philippine aircraft in the West Philippine Sea, according to Coast Guard spokesman Commodore J. Tariela. Just yesterday, Thursday, video footage shows China continued to do what it calls combat readiness patrols over Scarborough. Beijing seems to have stepped up military activity elsewhere in the region too. This week, Taiwan condemned the Chinese military for holding shooting drills off the island's southwest coast. At one point, Taiwan said it detected 32 Chinese military aircraft over the Taiwan Straits. Also in the past week, China conducted live fire drills in the Tasman Sea between Australia and New Zealand without prior notice.
We believe it would be appropriate to have been given more warning of this potential event taking place. But I can confirm also that there has been no danger to Australian assets as a result of this action in China.
We're going to take a quick break, but coming up next, Pag-IBIG has booked a record net income for 2024. What does that mean for members? We asked the fund's Vice President, Jack Jacinto Jr. when he joins the big story in a bit. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back. You're still watching the big story here on One News. Now, here's some good news for depositors. The insurance coverage for all bank accounts has just been doubled. The Philippine Deposit Insurance Corporation raised the maximum deposit insurance coverage to 1 million pesos per depositor per bank, doubling its previous 500,000 peso limit. This increase will be effective starting March 15. Now, the last time the maximum coverage was increased was way back in 2009. This was made possible by a 2022 charter that allows adjustments in the MDIC based on inflation or other economic indicators without the need for a new law.
To clarify, I guess, what the insurance coverage is for. It's for the event of financial institution failure, like a bank run, not, it's not it's not your
free
money. It's not free money because there's also questions had arisen as well over whether this will protect depositors from scammers. Like if you get scammed, will you be covered for that amount? And the answer is no. This is specifically in case your bank, whether it's a traditional universal bank, a thrift bank, or a digital bank, as long as it's under the BSP, you're insured per bank, per depositor of now 1 million pesos.
Yes.
Before it was 500,000, which is why some people
They-
broke up.
yeah,
They
exactly.
break up
Separated their accounts
I
because
actually just messaged my friend because she was just telling me, oh my gosh, I have so many accounts because her and her husband are so scared. They only put 500,000, which was the previous covered amount. So they have so many and they're having, I messaged her your message earlier when this news broke and I said, congratulations, you can now have the number of bank accounts that you have
because
to monitor.
again, in the event of a bank failure or a bank run, the government will pay you the exact amount that we just said, 1 million pesos.
All right, well, here's some more good news for savers and those looking for investments. The Pag-IBIG Fund has just declared record high dividends for 2024. The dividend rates for its regular savings accounts climbed to 6.6%, while the agency's popular modified Pag-IBIG 2 or MP2 rates rose to 7.1%. Regular savings accounts are available to all Pag-IBIG members, whether self-employed or employed, while MP2 is a voluntary savings program. That means anyone who has accounts with Pag-IBIG will have earned those rates for last year. And this was made possible because Pag-IBIG earned a record 67.5 billion pesos in net income last year, 2024, driven by higher loans, collections, and investment returns. The agency is essentially returning 82% of its net income as dividends back to its members, marking the largest payout in the agency's history.
I love when we have good economic news. At this point, let's bring in our second guest. We've got Jack Jacinto. He's Vice President of Pag-IBIG Fund. Good evening, Jack. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, and good evening, Regine, Shawn, and Pauline.
I
We're all
love the
happy
smile.
that you are happy
I know
with the
it's a
good
big
news.
smile.
Your smile is also, it's not usual that we open an interview with a big smile.
Congratulations, 67.5 billion pesos in net income for 2024. That is a record for Pag-IBIG. I know we already said that it's due to higher loans, collections, and investment returns, but talk us through that. What exactly did you guys do differently?
Well, thank you. We did post a record high in terms of our net income in 2024, which reached 67.5 billion pesos, and this was due because of our very strong performance over the past year, particularly last year when we released also a record high amount in housing loans, which reached 130 billion pesos. And it helped over 90,000 of our members gain new or better homes. We also released over 70 billion pesos in cash loans, which in turn helped over 3.2 million members. And what's good also is that we posted the our highest performing loans ratio in terms of our housing loan portfolio, which reached 93.72%. So combining our strong performance with our prudent use of our funds, and of course our wise investments, we were able to post, as mentioned earlier, a record high in terms of net income.
So it's mostly driven by housing loans and cash loans. How is that possible that so many people took out loans last year? I mean, the BSPs only started cutting this year. Cutting rates, I mean.
Yes, annually, Pag-IBIG Fund does lend out more than 2 million members each year. But last year we were able to exceed surpass the 3 million member mark by extending cash loans to over 3.2 million members, as I said earlier. And what's good about it is I would attribute it to our cash loans being easy to apply for. It's something that our members can apply for at any of our branches. They can apply for it online through our online service facility, the virtual Pag-IBIG. And of course, it's affordable. It has very friendly terms. So I suppose those are the reasons why we were able to buck the trend, and even more members ran to Pag-IBIG Fund for their cash loan needs.
It's also kind of like weird to think about it, rates are so high, people keep complaining about high prices, and yet we see a lot of housing loans. I do know for a fact that a lot of Filipinos rely on Pag-IBIG to get base loans. Can you talk us through, Jack, how much easier perhaps the process has gotten? Because the usual story we hear is even when you go to government banks, it's like very, very difficult or challenging to get a loan, especially if you're just an average Joe with an average job. But I suppose this is not the case with you guys.
In terms of our housing loans, in terms of Pag-IBIG housing loans, where we were able to lend out to over 90,000 members, yes, the process is much better. Because one, we have opened our online portal, our online service facility, the virtual Pag-IBIG, to accept housing loan applications, at least the initial step in applying for a housing loan. Secondly, all our branches nationwide can now accept housing loans from our members, and of course, we have strong partnerships with our accredited developers, so that all of these channels, all of these combine for us to provide better access to our members here and abroad, so that they may apply for our housing loans more conveniently.
I'm curious about your NPL. How are non-performing loans with Pag-IBIG? How does that look like? Is the number small?
We have. Thank you for asking, because it's the key to our sustainability and as well as to our profitability. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our members, particularly our housing loan borrowers, for keeping their accounts up to date. Because last year, we posted the highest performing loans ratio in our 44-year history. It went up to as high as 93.72%, which means that more than 9 out of 10 members, 10 housing loan borrowers, pay their housing loans on time. And it's very important for us to maintain this, because it ensures our sustainability. Because after all, the funds that we collect from our member savings and from the loan payments of our borrowers are again used so that more members can secure loans from our programs. So it's something that we really look and monitor closely, and we're very happy to report that it did reach the highest mark in our history, and it shows the quality of our portfolio, and it also shows that we have been managing the Filipino Workers Fund very prudently.
Ang galing niyo naman mag-collect, Jack. Maybe the other government agencies should take a leaf from your book. 93.72% borrower return rate.
That's crazy. Is that how you were able to afford to give back 82% of 67.5 billion pesos as dividends to your depositors? Would that be like the secret
Partly,
ingredient?
Yes. That is a big part of why we were able to post our highest net income in our history, which reached over 67 billion. Yes, of course. The performing loans ratio that we had, the high performing loans ratio that we had helped us gain that level of income. Of course, aside from the fact that we were very prudent. In other words, matipid, lalo kaming nakapagtipid last year on our expenses, which further drove our net income higher.
Well, Jack, just going back to the MP2 fund, I mean, a lot of people were really happy when they received their dividends this year, including my parents. I remember them telling me 5 years ago, you need to invest here in MP2 because it's low
Did you
risk.
invest?
I didn't. We were talking about
this, right? But there goes my question. For those who still want to, get into this investment, what are the steps and the requirements?
It's very easy, and thank you to your parents for trusting in Pag-IBIG Fund. They are part of the we have nearly 17 million active Pag-IBIG Fund members, and over 1 million of them have MP2 savings accounts. So thank you. And as to your question, it's very easy. It's very easy to apply and open an account under our MP2 savings. You can do so online. What's important and what we require is that you are Pag-IBIG Fund members. You are actively contributing Pag-IBIG Fund members, or if you have already retired and you are already earning a pension, you can still open an MP2 savings account. And how? You can do so online via virtual Pag-IBIG. And you may also apply and enroll at any of our Pag-IBIG Fund branches. And after getting your MP2 savings account, you can also easily save in the program, because the minimum amount that you need to save in the MP2 savings is just 500 pesos. So each time you remit, it has to be at least 500 pesos. And there may be months that you may not be able to remit. It's fine, but overall, what makes it very, very attractive, what we believe is makes it attractive is because, of course, it earns very competitive rates, which, by the way, in 2024, we were able to top the rates of 2023. And again, it's easy to save. It's very, very easy to save in the program, because what we really want is more Filipino workers to save and to find and to recognize the value of saving, because saving is important for their respective futures.
But I think what may turn off some people is the 5-year lock-in period, meaning you can't pull out that money in those 5 years. Is that something that you might change in the future, or perhaps introduce another product that's of shorter lock-in period?
What's good with that, on the other hand, is that we have enhanced the program where MP2 savers can receive their dividends on an annual basis. So while their principal savings is with us for 5 years, they can opt to receive their annual dividends on an annual basis, on a yearly basis. So it's something that they can use. In fact, our CEO, Manang Malen Acosta, has this term, she calls it Lodi. She hopes that more and more members would become LODIs, or those living on dividends from the earnings of their savings with Pag-IBIG Fund.
Pero yung 5 years, you're not going to change that. 5 years.
I guess it has something to do with the returns also, no? Yung lock-in period that goes into the math.
You won't be able to change that.
Yes. But just in case, for members who may have emergencies that require that would force them, I hope it doesn't happen. No? But if there are emergencies for our members, certain occurrences that would need them to withdraw their MP2 savings, it's also allowed.
Okay. You also have regular savings accounts, right? We're so focused on MP2, but actually I was looking at the dividend return of the regular savings, 6.6% versus 7.1%. It's not that far off for a regular savings account. Can you talk us through that account, that version of the account, or that savings account, and whether there's also certain lock-in periods? I'm assuming this is more like a normal savings account or deposit account.
Yes, you are correct. The Pag-IBIG regular savings is the one that's mandated by law. It's the contributions of our members, whether they're employed members, public servants, self-employed individuals, OFWs, those from the informal sector. That is the contribution, their mandated contributions, which for employed individuals is matched by a corresponding counterpart contribution from their employer. At this time, the contributions, the monthly savings of our members is at 200 pesos per month, which is then matched by another 200 pesos by their employers. And yes, that's correct. It has a maturity period of 20 years, but it is from these savings, from their collective savings, that we are able to draw, from which we are able to draw their benefits from. That includes their multipurpose loans, their housing loans, and while their regular savings, their contributions is with us, then yes, it earns annual dividends, which last year reached 6.6%. What's also, if I may add, what's also good is that there are many members who not only contributed 200 pesos as part of their regular savings. seeing and appreciating that our regular savings also grow and earn competitive rates, they decided to add on their mandated contribution. So hindi sila nagsettle sa 200 pesos, no? So dinagdagan nila yung 200 pesos, and in fact the collective savings from members who upgraded their regular savings reached around 10 billion pesos. So again, it's good news, and it shows the trust of our members with Pag-IBIG.
So what's the outlook for this year? Of course, I went on Reddit just to see what people would say about MP2, like from a couple of years ago. They're saying, one of the big warnings there is, hey, the returns do change from year to year, but then was another person who said, but it kind of like
so far
just
it's been on
plays
the
around.
uptrend.
Yeah, and it's also playing around like 6 to 8%. Can you confirm that, Jack? And also, like you said, Ms. Malen Acosta, your chief there in Pag-IBIG, she is targeting another 1.5 million new members for 2025.
Yes, that is correct. That is why, while it's already 8:30 in the evening, I'm still in the office because we're working towards that. No, but seriously, yes, it's our responsibility to our members to make sure that the funds that they save and they entrust with us earn the highest. It's something that we at Pag-IBIG Fund really are proud of, because we are able to maintain our interest rates on our housing loans low. In fact, it remains at its lowest, which is up to as low as 5.75% per annum, while keeping the earnings of our members high. So mababa yung interest sa pautang, pero sa ipon mas mataas. So that is something that we target every year. And in terms of the rates of our dividend rates and our MP2 return rates, it all boils down to our performance. If we perform well, if we gain high net income, if we're able to grow our business, meaning if we are able to reach out to more members and extend loans and to collect and maintain the quality of our portfolio, then it's something that would result very well in terms of the dividends and the returns that our members should expect.
But now the bar is in the 7%, so
Really high.
but no pressure. Thank you so much for your time and your answers tonight. Jack Jacinto, Vice President of Pag-IBIG Fund.
We sign up now
For MP2, 7.1%.
Should have listened to your parents, Howie. Okay, we're going to take another quick break right after that. A bridge that took almost a decade to finish and cost millions, actually billions of pesos, partially collapses in Isabela. We'll have the details for you when we return. Keep it here. Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us here on The Big Story.
A newly retrofitted bridge collapsed in Isabela last night, leaving 6 injured and 1 in critical condition. Around 8 in the evening yesterday, the Cabagan Santa Maria Bridge collapsed along with 1 truck, 2 SUVs, and 1 motorcycle. The suspected cause, that truck carrying large rocks. According to DPWH Cagayan Valley, the 10-wheeler truck was overloaded, weighing over 100 tons, which is far more than the bridge's capacity of 45 tons. Isabela Governor Rodito Albano said the construction of the 1.2 billion peso bridge began in 2014, but was recently retrofitted because it had been shifting. The DPWH Cagayan Valley spent 200 million pesos on the renovation and is now investigating the exact cause of the collapse. Meanwhile, the provincial government has pledged to assist the injured.
Open to light vehicles pa lang yung bridge because ongoing yung retouching, so baka masagasaan yung mga tao ng kontraktor.
Nire-retrofit yun actually, hindi pa bago lang binuksan yun kasi katatapos lang ng retrofitting. Dapat binuksan na. Binuksan muna for light vehicles. Tapos ngayon, medyo na nila, pwede na dumaan lahat ng truck kasi may overflow dun sa baba nun eh. Tapos binuksan na kasi akala safe na. Tapos yun nga, nung dumaan yung isang malaking dump truck na may kasamang boulders, o doon na testing na hindi pala kaya.
Just like so much to be said about that project, spanning 3 administrations, 3 DPWH.
It's a bit scary.
It's so scary.
Yeah.
And it was one truck, hindi man lang traffic yung bridge.
I get that it's overloaded. Pero, like you said, just one truck.
What if traffic, di ba? So, there could be so many cars that could weigh more than 100 tons. But anyway...
This is why, good infrastructure is a primal need here. We actually also had a story about Ramadan, which we had to scrap.
Yes.
Because apparently...
The moon did not show up tonight.
It was tentative to begin with.
But President Marcos has already issued a message,
yeah.
on the eve of Ramadan. Pero yun nga, Ramadan is being moved, na delayed din, just
Pero
like the
ito yung
Senate.
I turned on my laptop today and it said, March 1, Ramadan, but then it goes tentative.
So there is tentative.
Yeah, there's a tentative.
Because the moon the crescent moon didn't appear.
As we know, these things are fluid, especially, it really depends on the sighting.
Yep.
And it has to come from Mecca, right? The official word. But in any case, it is Feb 28, the last day of February 2025.
Wow.
And One News is going to mark the new month of March with changes. We do have a series of snaps or in Now Speak, carousel post for the big picture tonight. Is that us?
Well,
this is us now. Where did they get this photo? I have never seen
poses.
That's such a cliche pose.
Guys, we look like criminals in this
Oh
photo.
my gosh.
Anyway, so this is us now. But come Monday, March 3, we will have seasoned journalist Ces Orenia Diralon joining me and Pauline here on The Big Story.
Still in the same pose.
Still in the same pose also. We made sure of that. So we will still be airing weekdays from 7:30 to 8:30 in the evening. So we will be seeing you again then. But as you can already guess,
There we go.
starting Monday as well, our dearest Regina Lay is joining fellow One News editor Ed Lingao for StoryCon with Philippine Star Editor-in-Chief Ami Pamintuan and political pundit Ronald Diamas. As StoryCon's tagline goes, Reg here will be bringing you the day's developing stories and the stories behind the headlines.
Ami, odd one out. She doesn't have
didn't get the memo.
the anchor
She did not cross her
arms pose. That's a
Is it such a
part and
cliche?
parcel. Yeah,
It is
people
a
always
cliche.
they always
For
ask you
journalists.
to do this.
It's
And then,
either this, this,
the clasp hands,
this,
the
or
straight
this, the
arms
floating
crossed,
hand.
Yes. or one
hand
arm on
here.
the bewang.
Yeah, and then one inside the pocket, but you have to expose a finger because you're gonna look weird if
That's
you
right.
hide your whole hand inside. But we will miss you. I'm talking too
will
much.
I will
you.
miss this couch.
I don't like goodbyes.
Well, no, not this couch, but the people sitting on the people sitting on the couch. Yeah, because
It's really
Right, it's
hard
not
to
my
sit on
fault.
these couches, guys.
I mean,
Pinag-aralan namin
I'm so
to.
excited to see Regina on StoryCon. Of course, that show features the editors of One News. So you've got great minds bantering every afternoon on the different issues. Are you excited for?
sure.
She has the weekend to
Sure.
get used to this.
We'll see. We'll see.
So really, that's it for this is by my count the 4th iteration. Some will argue it's a 3rd iteration of the big story.
We've had a great run.
We've had a really
It's
good
actually almost 2 years to the day because we kicked off in April.
Yes.
I'll remember because I was still pregnant then. We kicked off the
Speak-
show, this iteration in April, and
Yes.
it's come a long way since then.
Yes.
We've become one of the higher rating shows on the channel, which
Thanks
is
to
good.
you
So
guys.
Thank you for following us throughout this time.
So all right. Anyway, no goodbyes. We're just reshuffled, you know.
Fresh voices, fresh
faces,
faces,
and
still, the same type of journalism you've come to expect from the big story.
Okay, so we welcome Ces Orenia Diralon on Monday. Kami yung na-pressure. But that's it for the big story this February, and that's it for the show tonight.
Well, we are One News, all sides, all the time.
And perhaps for the last time, thanks for watching the big story. Have a good night and a great weekend.